In this video, we will be covering the rise, existence, and ultimate demise of the Dutch East India Company, VOC for short. The Dutch VOC was the biggest company that ever existed, with a company value of around $8 trillion US, more than the 20 biggest companies combined that exist in the world today. This success was achieved by keeping safe working conditions, a non-hostile attitude towards foreign intervention, and not adopting slavery or any ethnic cleansing. Ha! Just kidding! They mostly did the complete opposite. To understand how the VOC began, we must look at how the Netherlands began. In the 15th century, the Dutch provinces were under the control of the Habsburgs, a monarch family so busy with boning each other that most of them grew an eggplant for a chin. In practice, that went down kind of like this. Anyway, they were also busy fighting wars about religion, and not good if you are more into trade than fighting religious wars and boning your own family. In 1602, this guy called Johan van Oldenbarnevelt said, "Fuck that, we have better stuff to do, like doing trade managed by a lot of competitive parties, dealing with the Portuguese, who have now become one with the Spanish, who hate us, and so we cannot trade spices anymore." Wait, okay, let's change that to one company funded by the state who makes a shitload of money at the expense of the Spanish, Portuguese, some British folks, and people with a certain type of skin color. From 1602 onwards, the VOC allowed basically anyone to purchase stocks, making it the first publicly traded company. This gave the VOC a massive growth potential over time. The Dutch government, called States General, delivered a patent saying, you can trade here and there, and everyone that gives you a hard time over this, you can shoot them with guns that we will happily buy for you guys. The recruitment of sailors was done with quite some creativity. They would search local bars and get drunk sailors to sign a contract that was, well, not so favourable, to say the least. The next morning, these sailors would find themselves assigned to a ship about to leave home and not come back for many months or sometimes years. The ships of the VOC began their long journey passing the southern tip of Africa towards the Southeast Indies. The conditions on a ship would be brutal, with malnutrition causing diseases threatening the health of the entire crew. Just to name one, schuurbuik was a disease that could cause internal bleeding of the gums, or give you aching limbs. For some symptoms, they could throw you below decks in the front part of the ship, where the unbearable heat would make sure you could sweat out your disease. Very sophisticated medical procedures. Disciplinary actions were enforced on sailors who did not follow the rules. They could be punished with a fine of 2 months' wages. But since they were paying shit wages anyway, it wasn't a lot. Deserters were flogged and murderers were tied to their victim and thrown overboard. The most famous type of punishment was called keelhakken, where they tied the poor chap to a rope and pulled them under the hull of the ship. Not very pleasant. On some of these journeys, these ships could lose more than a third of their men. When a ship and its crew survived the entire journey, it sailed over thousands of miles to get to its port. Practically every trade route had to pass the Cape of Good Hope, the most southern tip of the African continent. It was called Good Hope because that's what you needed when facing months of brutal conditions, nasty diseases, and storms that would surely kill everyone on board. After passing the Cape of Good Hope, there were only a few ports between the African continent and Asia. On the island of Mauritius, the Dutch colonists discovered the dodo birds. These birds were so isolated that they were fearless of any humans. This sounds very sweet, but was very dumb. The Dutch hunted down and ate many of the birds. The Dutch ships also carried many rats and other rodents, fucking up the entire ecosystem on the island, resulting in the extinction of the dodos. The VOC had many other trading posts in Asia. Batavia, now called Jakarta, was the big rendezvous hub for most ships. Batavia was established by Jan Pieterszoon Coen, a Dutch merchant who became Governor-General of the VOC and famous for monopolizing the trade on nutmeg. He also created controversy as the butcher of the Banda Islands, where he slaughtered thousands of inhabitants to control local trade. He claimed, "We cannot make trade without war, nor war without trade." I guess he was very devoted to getting some nutmeg. Through Batavia, many new trade routes were established to other parts of the Asian continent. From Mughal India to the Ming dynasty of China, silk, cotton, porcelain, and textiles were imported, as well as silver and copper from Japan. Japan basically isolated itself from any foreign trade, except for the Dutch. They could still come over and trade their shit. The VOC did not have any violent encounters with the Japanese like they did on the Banda Islands. Maybe because Banda people look like this, and Japanese folks looked like this. The VOC was also instrumental for introducing European ideas to Asia. The company also supported the trade of modern technology with China and Japan, as well as sending around Christian missionaries. I guess Christianity was an easier sell back then compared to now. Sorry, Jesus. Over the years, enormous wealth was created, and the stockholders back home were getting filthy rich. They started to build big chill mansions, Dutch style, in the center of Amsterdam and other cities across the Dutch provinces. Money was invested in reclaiming land by building windmills, dikes, and more canals. This period of great wealth is named by the Dutch Gouden Eeuw, meaning golden age, or a great time for white people. With the further growth of the VOC, so did the demand for more spices and luxury goods from the Far East. More and more traders looked for cheap ways to produce these goods. This resulted in the expansion of the African and Asian slave trade. Basically, a visit from the VOC to an unknown stretch of land could go down in a few different ways. 1. Hello, we would like to stick around, but we are too much in a rush. This can be considered a good day for the locals. 2. Hello, we really like your land. Oh, thank you. No, you don't get it. We really like your land. 3. Hello, we not only really like your land, but we would also like to trade. Oh, sounds fair. What would you like to trade? Well, how about we trade all of you? Despite all its wealth and extensive military presence, the VOC was defeated in numerous places where it sought expansion. They tried to bully China into trading with the VOC, but then China bullied back by calling the Dutch a bunch of red-haired barbarians and blew up a few ships, imprisoned a few red herries, and called it a day. They were also repelled by the Vietnamese and the Cambodians, who massacred a few red herries and again blew up some ships. Did not expect that from a bunch of Cambodians, but still, did happen. But don't worry that the VOC couldn't spare a few ships. Over a 200-year time span, they equipped more than 4,700 ships. At its height, the VOC employed more than 50,000 people and deployed a private army of 10,000 soldiers. The exact number of slaves that were taken remains unknown, but our best guess would be more than enough. In the late 18th century, a perfect storm of events, no pun intended, led to the end of the VOC. The Netherlands lost the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War with the British Empire in 1784. Not more than a decade later, the French invaded the Netherlands, and the VOC's trading network fell into disarray. In the year 1799, these costly battles combined with the introduction of new competitive trade markets, widespread corruption, turmoil within its politics, and finally paying shitty wages to its employees doomed the VOC. Luckily, most modern multinationals have learned from these mistakes. Or did they?